Yes. And a ho, 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 Merry Christmas to being live. Ah,
Oh, that is great. Oh, Martin, we did it.
oh, we did. We got here.
We
We got
got
in the
it.
sleigh and off we went. The
Yeah,
bad hubbub, tech gods, oh, whatever. We
yeah.
got it. We're live.
You
We're here.
sprinkled the magic
I
dust.
did. I sprinkled the Christmas magic. Worked a treat.
Yes. So, everybody, I am so excited to be here today with Martin. And this is going to be a Christmas spectacular talk.
Christmas spectacular. Yeah. Well, we got the tree. You got the hat. I've even brought the book. Christmas spectacular.
We're set up and ready.
Ready to go.
So, a Christmas carol.
A Christmas Carol. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. And
Yeah.
first off, Jill, I know I've just said this to you in private, but publicly, can I say a massive thank you? Thanks for
Oh,
inviting me back.
thank
I know
you.
I've been here a few times, and I just said it feels like home. You've got such an amazing community. We've known each other for, I don't know, 6, 7 years now, since the
Yeah,
start of my coaching journey.
yeah.
And so many of the people in your community, we've grown at that same time as
All
well. So we've
together.
got
Yeah.
Jenny and Joe and so many people.
Jenny's here now.
Jenny. So a lot of us have been on the same sort of journey over these last years, and it's been wonderful to see us all flourish and do our own thing in our own way,
Yes.
but all with the same heart. We
Oh,
just want to
absolutely.
help other people live a better life, whatever that means,
Yeah.
whether it's relationships or whether it's work or whether it's balance or family or just our inner self.
Yeah.
And that's
All
special
heart
to be around
first,
those people. Yeah.
aren't we? All heart first.
Yeah, absolutely. Just here to help make a difference, help people live a better life. So thank you for having me back. It
Oh, no,
genuinely feels like
thank you.
home because of all the people I speak to, you're the easiest person to speak to, right? We always have just a really informal but insightful chat. And that's what it's about.
Enjoyable, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
It's
not over engineered or anything like
no,
that. We're just going to be play it natural. So that's what you can expect today, people. Play it
yeah.
natural. Um, there is a word of warning, but I think we'll aim to wrap this up by next Tuesday. Right? Because sometimes we go a little long, don't we, Jill? If we're
We,
honest,
yeah, we do.
because I can talk for England. So I'm going to honor your time and everybody's time. So we'll try and wrap this up in a reasonable amount of time so that we don't have to create a Netflix series
Yeah.
at the whole content like we
Oh,
usually
that would be fun, wouldn't
do.
it?
Yeah, I yes, I think that would be a lot of fun, but we're not going to do that today. But we
No,
have got lots to cover. I'd love
I
to throw in lots of bits. I've got some trivia to start off with, and go through the lessons from the different ghosts, and hopefully work along. I didn't want to come here and just speak at everybody. I want this to be a discussion between Jill and I. Want to be a discussion between everybody listening. And whether you're catching this up on the replay, it doesn't really matter. Just play along as if this is live. Put this stuff in the chat. We'll see it. And why don't you just kind of get something out of it? So not me just sat here reading a Christmas Carol,
no.
but when we go through the lessons, I want you to reflect and write down some of the stuff. So I'll give you some prompts and everything so that you come out of it with, wow, I've got these insights that I can take forward and use, rather than this being something where you go, oh, well, that was an interesting talk, and then you don't do anything with it,
Yeah.
right? So, the whole thing is action, right? Trying to make things happen. And if we don't take the action, nothing improves, nothing changes. We
No.
don't use what we've learned. So that's kind of what I hope to get out of today. I hope everybody's going to get that out of today. So yeah, thanks for having me back. Would it be useful, because your community is growing all the time, so is it useful for me to give a quick introduction to who the heck I am? Because somebody might be thinking, who the heck is this overexcited, overenthusiastic chap? I have no clue who you are and what you do. Why are you here, Martin?
Go on, Martin.
Well, I'll give
Tell
you
everybody a bit about you.
yeah, I'll give you the short 3 hour version. Because as you know, I've got quite a story.
Oh
It's
yeah.
interesting. I was reflecting on this, and it this is a huge part of my story and the lessons that we'll go through today. It's when I step back and I go, wow, it follows my journey. I wasn't the miser. I wasn't Ebenezer Scrooge. But the lessons that we use and how we use those lessons are like, wow. So right now, if you don't know who I am, Martin Seville, I can't even say my own name properly. That Martin Seville, or governor, right? Martin Seville. God, my mum and dad, oh, shaking they are. So Martin Seville in Gloucester in the UK. And I've been called many things in my time. No, correction. I've called myself many things in my time. I've been a coach and a mentor, a trainer, a host, a guide. I host my own community. Just like many people here, I've been a co-author of the And Us series of books. So I've got author in there. And that's all just built up over the last 7 years.
Yeah.
I started as thinking that I needed to be a coach, and then it just kind of developed into things. And I'll come on to that in a little minute, but that's kind of what I'm here at the moment. But to describe what I do right now, given that this is all grown, the passion I have is for personal development. I love personal development. And so I'm a personal development specialist. And that means there is a bit of mentoring in there. There is a bit of coaching in there. There is a bit of training in there. There is a bit of speaking in there. There's a bit of authoring in there. There's lots of videos in there. It's all of that just to help people live a better life, which is what we just were talking about at Jill, right? And there's so many frameworks and blueprints and roadmaps and lived experience that we can use to help people live a better life and, avoid some of the mistakes that we made, make choices quicker than we made them. And I think it's still the greatest gift that any of us can give, to help somebody else through our lived experience so that they can go faster, so they don't have some of the pain and suffering and maybe the time difference that we did. I think that's the most unselfish thing that you can do. You're not stood there going, well, I learned it the hard way, so you need to learn it the hard way. It's that if I can condense decades of experience into minutes or hours for you, I'm going to do that, because I don't want you tripping up and trial and error and pain and suffering and all that stuff. We're going to try and shorten that so that you get to wherever it is you want to get to as quickly as you can. Yeah. And that's the journey that I'm on. That's what I love. So personal development is my thing. Wasn't always that way really quickly. I came out of the education system and went straight into financial services, my dream job. I mean, surely everybody dreams of going into financial services. I actually thought I'd give it a couple of years, and then I'd find my real job. And then 20 years later, I was still there. So I didn't quite go to plan, but things happen. And in financial services, a restructure every 6 to 18 months without fail. So there was always a new opportunity and always a new threat. If you want to know how to create a fear culture in any organization, hit them with a restructure regularly. So you're looking over your shoulder all the time. So that's not good. But I did a lot of good during those 20 years for the clients, for the company, for colleagues, for the industry. But it took its toll, as many of you here actually know. And what started off as low-level stress turned into high stress, turned into low mood, turned into depression, turned into generalized anxiety disorder, turned into insomnia, turned into liver disease, turned into burnout, turned into self-harm, and a lot worse. And we're not going to go there today. So I've experienced the whole spectrum of when life gets out of control, when you don't know what you're doing and how you're doing it, and you've lost your sense of values and how to go about life, and the impact it has on you physically, mentally, emotionally, and on the people around you. I lived that for a great many years. And so that's why it got to a point where I couldn't work, signed off for an entire year. The boppers have gone already. They've gone already.
Popping off.
That was part of the entertainment value when they popped up. So yeah, it got to a point where I couldn't work. I was signed off for an entire year. And it wasn't that I got better after a year. I still had a long way to go. But I had to make a decision as to, do I go back into the corporate world or do I not? And given that the corporate world, financial services was all I ever knew. It's the companies, the industries, it's what I knew. So to make that decision And so it gives me great empathy if people are making big decisions where they're going, right, I want to write a new chapter in my life. I want to go in a different direction. I've been there at that, and you've got that perceived security, even though it's not very secure, but you've got the salary and you've got the benefits and the bonuses and all this kind of stuff. And outside, I was certainly looked like I was living the life with a nice house and the car and the holidays and the beautiful, amazing family, which I still have. Um, but inside, I was broken, you know. So, but I had to make a decision, and I decided that, look, it had to be worth it. Everything I've been through, I don't want other people to go through that. So I don't know how I'm going to do it. I know why, though. All of this has to have been for a reason, you know. And you're looking at somebody who's on their seventh chance of life. I mean, Scrooge got his second chance. I'm on my seventh chance. I've died once. I've been taking my last two breaths on my living room floor twice. I decided to take my life, and I've survived two car crashes, one of which I'm still recovering my shoulder from last year.
Yeah.
So I'm a very lucky man, and I see life probably a little bit differently to a lot of people because of that experience. And A Christmas Carol resonates like anyone's business, you know, because it is about looking at your past and going, right, what went well and what didn't? What do I want to avoid going forward? Yeah. Right. And at that crossroads, that's what I did. I went, well, I want to avoid all of that. I don't know how to use it right now, but I know I've got to go in a different direction. You know, so I used the past to then fuel my present and then my future. And so the lessons are right there. And so that's been my journey. And I went into this personal development sort of journey, trying to make sense of my journey, help other people. It's grown, and frameworks are one of the things that I love and adore at personal development. I used to love personal development in the corporate world. And then I actually started doing real personal development and realized it wasn't just about a time management course or how to have difficult conversations and communication skills, all important stuff.
Yeah.
But they weren't even scratching the surface of personal development in corporate. No. And it didn't cover mindset or how to look at yourself and others and success cycles and 6 human needs and fear frameworks and 7 levels deep and all the stuff that I know, like, oh my God, this is amazing, and help other people with. It's like scratching the surface. But here's the thing, right? So hopefully it's kind of, that's giving you, it's not just about me, it's giving that journey, and hopefully some of this people can relate to.
Jenny said a brilliant, heartfelt intro.
Well, thank you, Jenny. Appreciate it. And it is all from the heart, right?
Yeah.
It is one of the things, if anybody's had a job, right, in corporate world, say, there's always somebody judging it. I mean, there's always people that judge things anyway, but people can try and take away your power very quickly. They'll always focus on what you can't do, and, oh, you got to improve this, you've got to improve this, and you've got to improve this. And they're almost taking away the stuff you're good at. Right? They don't focus on that. They just take that as a given. They go, oh, focus on this stuff that you're not very good at. Speak up more in meetings. But when you step away from that world and you own your story, no one can touch it. Somebody can have an opinion about it, but it's your lived experience. And what worked for you, can work for other people. It's not a guarantee, but you can go, I've lived this. No one can take that away from you. This is how it felt. And here's what I did, and here's what happened as a result.
Don't you think that
powerful
opinions, everybody can have an opinion. There's no harm in that. And it can't take anything away from what we live.
Yeah. It's our worth.
Yeah, it can't touch that.
Yeah. And that's an important thing, because I think some people, I certainly did, felt worthless, wasn't standing in my worth back in the day. But you come to realize that your worth is your worth. You're here. You've got so much to give. You're alive. You're breathing. You can make a difference. You can make a choice that can change yours and everybody else's life around you in an instant. That's exciting. No one can take that worth away from you.
No.
They can have opinions, but you've got to be strong. You've got to be courageous and step into that and know your worth and stand in that worth. But who the heck teaches us that, Jill? No one teaches, don't get taught that at school, just like all the other things that we've learned in development. They don't teach you at school or university or college or in your inductions at work or in your training programs at work. It's just stuff that allegedly we're supposed to figure out ourselves and then wonder why there's a lot of people that are feeling lost and angry or frustrated or all these things. And it's because some of the tools that are simple tools that we could use, they're just not exposed to them. So that comes back to what we were just talking about. It's why we do what we do, because we're no better than anybody else. We've just got a little bit more knowledge and experience than some of the people and go, hey, you didn't know about this. This could really help. And then all of a sudden they're like in a different world. And it's like, oh, so simple. If you've got the right people around you. And that is part of Christmas Carol, having the right people around you.
Yeah.
So we'll come on to that. So frameworks is, as I say, frameworks is something that I really adore. And I had separately, because Christmas Carol, I've loved this since I first knew about it. This is my original Christmas Carol book. Wow. This is the one I read, right? This is from 1982.
Go.
I think we were still carving the wheel at a rock back in 82. I rode my dinosaur to school in 1982. Might be some people here that weren't even born in 1982. But yeah, it's just from 1982. So I was, 8? And it had a profound impact on me since the age of 8. And yes, it's about Christmas, my favorite time of year. Yes, it's got colorful characters. Yes, it's set in an intriguing point in history. Yes, it's got a great story. Yes, there's ghosts. But it was the transformation. It's the hope that it gives everybody. Like, you don't have to have been a miser like Scrooge, and we'll get onto that. You don't have to have that, but maybe life's not been so good, right? Maybe you've made some mistakes. Maybe just the environment in which you've been in for a while just hasn't been serving you. Maybe it's work, maybe it's relationships, maybe it's your health, and stuff hasn't been going. And instead of just taking it as read and going, well, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Stories like A Christmas Carol give us hope that no matter how bad things have been, how traumatic things have been, how rough things have been, how difficult things have been, that we can change, that we can take control of what's in our control and go live a better version of ourselves, and that the past doesn't define us. And this is me as a youngster kind of realizing that that's the message, not really realizing that's personal development, but it's that drew me to the story. The fact is that Christmas and all that kind of other stuff is like the icing on the cake. That's what really drew me in. But the message, that's why I keep coming back to it. And when I then got into personal development, I'm like, wow, this has really got something. And I start reflecting on my own journey going, Martin, you used your past to improve your present and then figure out a better version of your yet to come, just like Scrooge did. Wow, there must be real power in that. Have a think about that, Martin, and maybe help some people in that way. And I kind of put all these dots together before I then realized that, and one of my mentors is Tony Robbins. I know some of you know Tony, or know of Tony, and he came up with a framework that he called the Dickens process, based on A Christmas Carol. So I came up with sort of my own version of this, and then realized, wow, it's not just me making this stuff up. It is powerful because, the most successful business and personal strategist on the planet used it for one of the most powerful personal development strategies and frameworks that there is. I mean, he's done it on me, and it's not for the faint-hearted. It's like, because he focuses on all the negative stuff, all the pain, in order to bring you forward. But Tony was sat in, real quickly, I like a good story. So Tony was sat in his hotel room, having done a few seminars, and he was thinking, how do you get sustainable change? Again, this is all brings it why this is so important. How do you get sustainable change? Not the kind of change where we do something for a bit, we get some benefit. Oh yeah, that's good. And then it fades. And at the time, years and years ago, Tony was getting the results, but then people after a year, it was kind of fading.
Back.
And he was like, yeah. And they would come back to him and go, Tony, it didn't work. And he's like, what, are you still doing the thing? Goes, yeah, not working. And he's like, well, how do you get the sustainable stuff? And in the background, in his hotel room, a Christmas Carol was playing. Mm. And he noticed it and he went, so what is it about that story? And he went, past, present, future. And he realized it wasn't just the framework. It was the depth of feeling that you have to have. It has to really, really mean something to you in order for you to then really go for it. And most people don't have that when they're going to make their New Year's resolutions in a couple of weeks. They'll go, I'm going to get fitter this year. There's no honesty about where they're at right now. There's no clarity about where they want to go. And there's certainly no passion for doing it. And they haven't scheduled it, how on earth they're going to actually fit it into their busy schedule. And after 2 weeks, you know what's going to happen. It's gone. It's a long gone memory, right?
Yeah.
But we're in the process of, all of us, anybody that's in coaching or mentoring or therapy or anything like that, is like, we want the sustainable change. So Tony saw that. He came up with the Dickens process. And the Dickens process just focuses, like I said, on the pain. It goes, what's the pain from the past that you don't want to replicate? What's the pain in the present you don't want to replicate? And what's the pain in the future, if you don't change, that you don't want to travel? And it focuses on that. I like to put the light in there as well, the positive stuff. So we're going to go through that in a minute. Because I think it can be more balanced and it's not quite as traumatic. But I think there is stuff to be learned from both the positive stuff and the stuff that hasn't served us. So this isn't just a story. This isn't just some, 99-page story. No. It's a guide to how you want sustainable change. And it was ahead of its time. Yeah. And it's what I call it the greatest coaching book ever written.
But I got a question.
Go for it.
I think, talking about sustainable change, one of the things that doesn't seem to get addressed is the fact that when we start making changes, we change.
We do.
So if we're working from a framework, the framework needs to change. Because we're not the person that started that in that framework.
It's true. It's true. And there are some frameworks that are very specific for a specific thing.
Yeah.
That, and it might be a stress thing or an overwhelm thing, for example. And it's like, if you're feeling like this, here are some steps. Here's a framework that could help.
And then you've changed. So
you've changed.
Different.
You've then got a different mindset. So you might then be going, right, okay, how do I write the next chapter in my life? What do I want that to look like? So you might go through the 7 steps to improve your life, or you might go, I need to go forward with confidence. I need to work on my confidence. So let's go through, the 12 steps of confidence, or the success cycle, or like, I'm just throwing stuff at you, out there to go, you're right. Some are very specific. What I really get a kick out of is the kinds of frameworks that you can use repeatedly, no matter where you are, because you're right, Jill. And really importantly, if you don't then know who to speak to about what your next step is, you can feel very alone and then go, and even start going backwards. But I love the kind of frameworks where it's like, right, I am where I am right now. I want things to improve, change, or even maintain. But how do I do that? How do I do that? And you can use the same framework as you use to get to where you are. And A Christmas Carol there's still so much you can use no matter where you are and what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you're just focusing, like Tony does, on the pain bit, well, what if actually things are pretty okay and it's not particularly painful now, it's not particularly painful in the past? How do you use it? Well, that's when you start using some of the positive stuff and you go, what can I use? It might not be painful, but there might be more that I could do. Or maybe I've forgotten, we'll come on to this. Maybe I've forgotten that thing that lit me up.
Yeah. I've got to, Joe says hello.
Joe. Hi, Joe.
Is with us. And Jenny just said, love the becoming equal to both pleasure and pain.
Yes.
And
I think it's important. Yeah.
that's the duality, isn't it?
Yeah. I think, again, without getting too like personal development-y, it's like some people are driven by pain. So I want to move away from that trauma, that situation I'm in. It's just like it's not serving me anymore. Like work, like totally overwhelmed, totally stressed, made you ill. I don't want that anymore. That's not serving me. So you're trying to get away from that. So some people are motivated to make change by doing that, whereas some people are motivated by the vision. Like they can, if we can paint a more compelling future, as it were, a better vision for the future, and you go, man, I want to step in. I want to live in that. And then you're working on figuring out the confidence as to whether it's possible or not. But if you've done the work and you've done it in the right way, some people are trying to run away from the pain to create a better future, but they might not know what that looks like, but they know that they've got enough motivation to do something different. And then some people are like, well, yeah, life is what it is, but I would like that. And it might be, and I'm not talking material, it can be, but it might be more connection with your family, or it might just be, I want to be healthier, or I want to do something with purpose and passion, something I believe in, something that makes a difference, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to address both, because if you only address one side of the coin,
Yeah.
then you're missing out on a whole bunch of other people that you could potentially make a difference to,
Yeah.
that aren't motivated by the pain, for example. So that's why, and we'll go through it in a minute. It's kind of, I like to bring a little bit of balance to it. So yeah, I mean, there you go, a broader conversation about Christmas Carol, what frameworks and personal development, why this sort of stuff is important, what we can learn. So yeah, that's it. That's that. I mean, I'm going to take a breath. I got some fun trivia before we go into the
I
Carol.
love
I've got some fun trivia for you.
Yeah.
I'd love to share with everybody. Well, I think it's fun anyway. But you'll also realize why it blew my mind as well. But I'm going to take a moment. Everybody okay up there? Everybody all right? Have we lost anybody?
No, everybody's here.
We're keeping it informal. Like we said, just a conversation. So look, I told you about, since 1982. And I tell you what people should do in the comments, if you've got a favorite version of A Christmas Carol. I mean, there's lots of versions out there, right? All the movies. Yeah. Throw in your favorite version. Who's your favorite Scrooge? I'd love to know, because, well, I love A Christmas Carol, and I like to see what other people like. So yeah, there you go. And Jill, you sent me a little video, didn't you, before we came on here, with Sir Patrick Stewart and the Next Generation, where they slice and dice it and make a Christmas song. It's brilliant. But it reminded me that hashtag name drop, when I met Sir Patrick Stewart, yeah. I was at a Star Trek convention, because by the way, I'm a total utter nerd if you don't know. I met him at a Star Trek convention, and he was such a lovely guy. And obviously everyone's just talking Star Trek, so I'd have a little Star Trek talk with him. This is really important to me, and he played a great version of Scrooge, and so I got that into the conversation, and he just lit up. Because it wasn't just about the Star Trek, it was that broader understanding of his roles. But if you also know Sir Patrick Stewart, he did, I'm gutted I never got to see it, he did a one-man show where he played all of the characters on stage.
Wow.
And I would just have loved to have seen that. Somebody doesn't do that unless it really, really means a lot to them. And it does. And in that conversation I had with him, it had that profound effect on him as it did with me. So there you go, a little bit of aside. It wasn't even, that's not even the trivia, but that was just the little aside. So bit of trivia for you. Did you know Ebenezer Scrooge was based on a real person?
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, right. Real person. Yeah. Wow. And so Jill already knows. And Jill liked one of my videos where I talked about this. But this is for everybody that doesn't know, right? Ebenezer Scrooge based on a real person. Ooh, what kind of person could that be? His name was James Jemmy Wood, right? James Jemmy Wood. Here's the first bit that blew my mind. James Jemmy Wood lived and worked in Gloucester, my home city.
I did not know that.
I love this book from the age of 8. the inspiration behind Scrooge lived in my city. You can imagine how excited I was when I found that out, probably about 5 years ago. So not that long ago. And there's actually a plaque just down from Gloucester Cross in the centre of Gloucester where the business that he owned used to stand. And he used to own the Gloucester Old Bank.
Wow.
Scrooge, counting house. James Jemmy Wood, a bank. See the similarities.
Yeah.
Now, James Jemmy Wood, he was also known as the wealthiest commoner in all the land.
Whoa.
So to give you an idea, when he died, he was worth over 50 million pounds in today's money. We're talking about the 1800s. That is the kind of money that only the absolute elite and royalty were used to. But this is a guy that owned the bank in the center of Gloucester, right? But he was also known, funnily enough, hence the reason he was the inspiration behind Ebenezer Scrooge. He was known for being a miser, an absolute miser. In fact, he was not just locally, he was nationally known as the Gloucester miser.
Wow.
That's
something to be.
That's quite something.
Yeah.
Right? And a couple of fun stories in terms of his miserliness. If in A Christmas Carol, you know that Charles Dickens makes quite a big thing about the coal for the fire. There's poor old Bob Cratchit, warming his hands up around a candle, right? Because he's not allowed another lump of coal on the fire. Well, James Jemmy Wood, this is a guy that's worth tens of millions of pounds. He would go down to Gloucester Docks, which at the time was a working docks, is where all the trade came in and out of Gloucester. He would go down to Gloucester Docks and scour the area around the docks for any lumps of coal that had fallen off the wagons and fallen out of the sacks, so that he didn't have to pay for them. He would just go around picking up lumps of coal for his own fire. Hence the reason there's references to the fire in A Christmas Carol. It's like, wow, this guy is something. I know he amassed his fortune somehow, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't because he was just picking up coal off the Gloucester Docks. He was just a miser. There's another story where he was at Tewkesbury, which I think is about 30 or 40 miles away from here. And he found himself there probably on business, right? I don't know. I wasn't there, but he was there, and he refused to pay for the carriage back. Too expensive. Wasn't gonna pay for it. So he saved his money and he walked. And fair play to him. He walked 30, 40 miles. But so precious about his money was he wasn't prepared to spend it. And it's like, wow, the Gloucester miser. This is really quite something. And to top this off, right? To top this off, because James Jemmy Wood didn't get his redemption like Scrooge. Right. When James Jemmy Wood died, there was a procession through Gloucester. So through Gloucester City, there was a procession. And the people lined the streets. They lined the streets. And booed.
They booed the coffin.
They booed the coffin as it went through the streets. And threw stones at the coffin as it went past. This is the depth of feeling that people had towards James Jemmy Wood. This, my friends, is the inspiration behind Ebenezer Scrooge, and he lived on my doorstep. Now, I would like to say that the residents of Gloucestershire are not like that, right? He was a bit of a one-off, but imagine that. I'm just like enamored by this book, and then realizing all of that right on my doorstep and those sorts of stories. And I tell you what, I learned something else just last week. Life is a journey of learning. Gloucester Old Bank that Jemmy owned was bought by the County of Gloucestershire banking company after he died. That was then bought by Lloyds Bank. Right. Lloyds Bank is my previous employer. In some kind of twisted hero's journey circle of life. What? I love it. There you go. So yeah, some fun facts, some fun trivia for you.
Yeah. Wow.
But I hope everyone's found that interesting.
Yeah.
And, we can get into some stuff now.
Jenny said Carol of the Bell.
Oh.
And Joe has said, she's laughing, said that sounds like a riot.
What? Yeah. Oh, Jemmy, he was a riot, right?
Yeah.
He was.
But
Jeez.
do you think that to be a miser to that extent, it was a sickness?
I don't know. I
It
don't know.
sounds like there was something
Possibly,
a lot more
possibly.
going on.
But
There's no
he just
pleasure
didn't spend his money. Yeah, he just didn't. He treated people bad. His business practices were bad. It was not good. And he's actually he was laid to rest at St Mary de Crypt Church, which is just down from the cross in the centre of Gloucester. And just as a little side, not this weekend just gone, but the weekend before that, I actually attended, and I thought this was going to be pretty spooky. It almost felt a little bit wrong, but it turned out beautiful as an experience. I attended a very intimate performance of A Christmas Carol in the middle of St. Mary de Crypt Church, and it's a beautiful church. So at the place where he was laid to rest, James Jemmy Wood, there was a performance of A Christmas Carol, and like I said, it kind of felt like, oh, I'm not sure about this, but it was like, geez, I don't get a chance like this. I'm going to do it. And the performers, eight of them, and an intimate audience of 30 people. And I tell you what, it was so moving to be in that environment. It wasn't spooky and it didn't feel wrong. It just felt uplifting, and what a journey that we were taken on in this beautiful church. And yeah, so there you go. That's the kind of how much this means to me. It's like, yeah, if you ever get to see it live, see it, because it hits differently when you've got those characters right there. So yeah, there you go. Wow, we just chewing the cud. Anybody want to learn some lessons from A Christmas Carol now? I hope that's been helpful, though. I hope that's been useful. I hope that's been entertaining, even.
sin, wasn't it?
Yeah. So look, let's get into it, shall we? Let's get into it, and try and not make this a Netflix series. So I guess you could consider me like Marley in many ways. I'm the one saying, "Hey, you're just about to get visited by three ghosts, right? Your ghosts of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas yet to come." So I'm that word of warning, and it's funny when I think of it like that, because when I talk to people who are stressed, overwhelmed at work, and they're working in the corporate environment and they're trying to get that balance better. So the thing that I struggled with, and now I figured it out. Um, I kind of am that. I am that ghost because I've been there. I know exactly what that's like, and I'm saying, hey, I know where this goes. You don't want what I experienced, right? So it's like I can see all these little similarities, and it brings it to life even more. But for everybody here, the ghost of Christmas past. And the thing about the past, not everybody, but I think a lot of people sometimes live in the past. You ever come across people that kind of live in the past? And it might have been because their past was their heyday, or it may well be because life wasn't so bad, was pretty bad, or stuff happens, but they're reliving it quite a lot. They haven't been able to kind of move on from that. And again, any of us that are coaches, mentors, guides, trainers, people who just generally care about other people, we don't want that for them. So let's try and help them out. So, but the past is a beautiful learning experience. It's not meant to be for us to be there and stay there. It's meant for us to reflect on it and go, well, what went well and what didn't. And I like to simplify this. I like to simplify everything so that we can actually use it. It's no good saying, here's my 57 steps to learn from A Christmas Carol. You're not gonna take that on. You're not gonna do it. So for a Christmas past, and what I like to think of is this is not just for Christmas. Use this for any time of year, but let's talk a little bit about Christmas, but then also go, right, the year ahead, what could we learn from our own ghost of Christmas past? So we look into the past, and if you've got a piece of paper, just like kind of have two columns, really, real simple, and go, right, what's this? And let's just take Christmas for the time being. Go, when I've had a really good Christmas and real special moments at Christmas, what were they? What were those things that really lit me up, really lit my family up? Really, it really felt special.
Yeah.
And jot some of those down. And it might have been last year, it might have been the year before, but whenever it was, just think of Christmases gone by and go, what was it? And it might have been we went ice skating as a family and we had a laugh, and none of us had done it before. And we were all over the place. We were clinging onto the side for dear life, and we've never laughed so much in all our lives, right? It might have been that. It might have been a special moment where you all went and went to the cathedral and did a carol concert. It might have been that you and your partner, with no urgency to buy anything, went to a Christmas market and just spent the afternoon going around a Christmas market, soaking up all the sights, the smells, the atmosphere, and it just felt good. And it was just you and them, and it might have been that. It might have been going to your son, daughters, nephews, nieces nativity play. It's think of some of the moments that you've had over the years that have really been special. Because the important thing of where we're going with that is we might want to replicate some of those.
You
Because
know,
sometimes we
Martin,
forget.
do you know, Chris and I used to go away, we used to book a cottage and it would have an open fire or log fire,
Oh,
and it would just be us.
mm,
We didn't worry about cooking on Christmas Day. We'd maybe do it Christmas Eve or maybe Boxing Day. And Christmas Day, we just chilled out.
beautiful.
So nobody was running around doing anything. There was nothing at all to stress over.
Yeah.
And when we moved here and we got the log fire,
Yeah.
and Chris said to me, we don't need to go away at Christmas anymore.
Because
We've
you
got
got the
it
fight.
all here. And that was something that came from so much pleasure in the past that came into present time.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's it's the intention behind these things. Because let's be honest, everyone's busy and we're busy, 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 on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, doing the things, doing into habits, into routines. Sometimes we just forget the moments. And some of these moments, admittedly, are one-offs. But a lot of the moments can be replicated.
They can.
And if it was good back then, it can be good again,
Yeah.
right? So, and this is how also how traditions are built, right? You get your Christmas traditions. So take some of the stuff that you enjoyed, and who were you with? Where were you? What was it that you did? And it can be really simple things. It might be just taking some time out. You might have just taken some time out with your partner, sat under the Christmas tree, watched a Christmas movie in your Christmas woolly socks, eating a mince pie and some mulled wine, and that was it. And there was no craziness, and the kids were maybe somebody else was looking after the kids, or they were asleep, or whatever it might be. But it was just you. You remind me of that little story where when we love, it's all about family for us,
Yeah.
but having those little precious moments where it's just us are priceless, where it's just still and it's just us and everything else melts away
Yeah.
and you're just in the moment. That goes to Christmas present, right? But it's taking those things and going, this is interesting. Because I also get this when if we take it away from Christmas, so we drop some stuff down for Christmas. If you then look at your life in general and go, right, okay, next year, what could it look like? Look at some of the stuff that maybe really lights you up, that really keeps you balanced, that keeps you fresh, right? That just brings you joy.
Yeah.
Write some of those things down, right?
Yeah.
Do it now. Because, and I'm sure anybody who's helped anybody else in whatever capacity, sometimes they might be in a certain way and they go, oh, I'm just feeling so lethargic and I'm feeling a bit stressed and I'm so in my head and oh, it's feeling tough. And we've all been there and we all go there, right? It's not about trying to get this perfect. We're all like that at times. And you might sit down with them and you go, okay, well, have you felt like this before? And it's like, yeah, I have. Well, what worked? Well, actually, what really worked was when I went out and went for a walk in the woods. I just wanted to connect with nature, and it was just me. And I just got out, got my walking boots on, and just went for a walk. And actually, what I did, Martin, was I would do that regularly. If it wasn't weekly, I'd do it fortnightly. But I found it really, really helped. I just decompressed. And just, the stuff that was in my head, I could just kind of make sense of and just let it go without really trying to force it. And that really worked. And you go, oh, that's brilliant. When was the last time you went for a walk in the woods? And I go, um, January? So what month is it now? December? The thing that was working, that has worked, that works, you haven't been building it in. And people get busy or people forget. And sometimes we just need to remind ourselves of what works.
I write things on a calendar.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what this is where we're heading, right? We're heading towards the Ghost of Christmas Present, where we're going to go, all right, could we use some of this stuff? Right? Because we need to schedule some of this stuff in. You're right. But and it can be in your relationship. When your relationship was really sparking, what was it? If you're feeling like it's not sparking at the moment, well, what was it that made it spark? Your health. How did it when you were feeling really healthy, what were you doing? When you felt really confident at work and you were really feeling like you were making a difference, but maybe you're not at the moment, what were you doing back then? Learn from the past. What's the good stuff from the past that you can then use in the present and into the future? Sometimes we forget, sometimes we're a bit busy. But if we just jot some stuff down now, you've at least got a record of that. We can work with that. That's quite useful.
Jo has said for her were memories of Christmas. Mm-hmm. Her grandmother sing for the first time, spontaneous, and what a voice. And she was around 20 years old and sat with her mouth wide open.
Wow.
And she said she loves intentional Christmases.
Yes. Yes.
And to be honest, intentional means to me with Christmas is you don't get caught up in other people's wants that don't align with yours.
Yes. Yeah.
If I intentionally need Christmas to be this way, like not having to cook.
Yeah.
And you can get, suddenly you have to cook.
It puts that pressure on you.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden things feel a little bit on edge and
yeah, suddenly it's like, an aunt is turning up and she says, oh, I'm looking forward to the Christmas dinner. And do you say, well, I don't actually do it on Christmas Day? Or do you then
bend to meet their expectations? Yeah. This is why I love these sorts of conversations, right? Because we can then explore this just a little bit. Because there's a couple of things you've reminded me of. So the intention is, got to remember what those two things are. My mind is like, oh my goodness. The intention behind things. And I love we talked about it. There are spontaneous things that can happen, and there are sort of planned things that can happen. So, hey, the carol concert is at 7:30 on Friday. That's a plan. If you don't put it in the diary, if you don't make plans to leave work, stop work, gather the family, and actually go, the chances of you going are minimal, right? So there are things where it helps to plan. And even like ice skating. I mean, I've had spontaneous ones where it's like, it hasn't been a busy day and we've just gone and done it. And it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. But sometimes if you're trying to do it during the busiest times, you might have to book. So sometimes you have to schedule things in. You have to be intentional about the things that you want to have the moments for. That's really important. And sometimes it's spontaneous stuff. What people often say to me when I talk about spontaneous, they go, yeah, Martin, I can't replicate spontaneous because it was spontaneous. And I'm like, I get it. Yeah, true. But here's the really important thing behind both planned stuff, scheduled stuff, and spontaneous stuff. You gave yourself the time and space to do it. So if it was planned, you gave yourself the time and space to plan it and actually make time and space to do it, planned. If you're busy, or you've overly planned everything like a military operation,
Can't be spontaneous.
you can't be spontaneous. So whether you're planning and there's a little bit of planning and there's room for spontaneity, you have to give yourself the time, the gift of time and space for that to happen.
Yeah.
And part of that is also not bowing to all the expectations, not over planning, plan things that are really important to you. And it might be just literally a handful of things. It might be 3 things that you really want to do together at Christmas. Cool. Just make sure you do them and get them planned in. But then you might want to just ease off the reins a little bit. This is one that I learned a long time, because I was always about, especially when I was in the corporate world, I was so stressed anyway. I was working myself into the ground at Christmas, and I just wanted it, because my children were a lot younger. I wanted it to be picture perfect. I just wanted the picture perfect family Christmas. And I would have all these ideas about it, and I would plan it. And the first sign of something not going to plan, I'd have an absolute meltdown. And I'd think it was just the end of the world. Well, my kids were still having a good time and we were all still together. But because I had this such a high expectation of how things ought to be and how other people should respond, how they should react, what we should do, when we should do it. And we all kind of have a little bit of this at times. When we do that, we put ourselves at risk of it all falling apart and us feeling really bad. And heaven forbid, we say something we shouldn't.
Yeah.
But it's just because we're holding on too tight. So what I've learned is have a high standard in life.
Flexible.
Have a high standard, live to a high standard, but what are the expectations? Right?
And you know, Martin, Chris and I were going to book to go to our favorite restaurant and before Christmas. And it was like we didn't want to be too close to Christmas. And it was like, I said to him, do you know, this feels like we're doing this just because we're pushing to get there before Christmas. And it feels like a push rather than the pleasure of it.
Something you're looking forward to and for the right reasons.
And I said to him, why don't we do it in January? I said, it's like after Christmas is a bit flat.
Yeah.
I said, why don't we do it then? And it was like suddenly it became light, fun, joyful, and something to really look forward to, rather than this, it has to be before Christmas.
How important is that, right?
It is.
Lessons for us all, right? And because with some things, we will feel it like that, won't we?
Yeah.
We'll just feel like, you know what? This just makes me feel really edgy. It feels like we're pushing. And sometimes it's like we got to get a little bit uncomfortable and we do the thing and it works out amazing, right? But sometimes just listen to our intuition a little bit and go, because the really important thing not to do is just to do things just for the sake of doing things. And go, oh, well, our Christmas, we do this and this and this and this and this. And then because they just become chores, then it becomes a tick list of things rather than we're doing this thing because it just brings us so much joy and we're all really looking forward to it. Don't let it become a tick list. So when we're learning from the past, we're going, here's some of the stuff that really lit me up. How can, and we're looking at the end of it, we're going, how can we replicate some of that? It's like, some of these things might be spontaneous because we just need to give ourselves time and space. So let's not be too busy. Let's not overplan. Let's schedule some of it in, but let's be really mindful of, are we doing it for the right reasons? If we're just doing it for doing its sake, and just to say it's a tick list or just to prove to everybody else we've done it, it's like, so be mindful of that, you know?
And Joe has said tradition can be strong, but it's not always the best use of our energy or produces joy. We start mixing up out Christmases. We started mixing up our Christmases 15 years ago. We had an un-Christmas to start the opposite of all things we used to do just to try it out. And Jenny said, I'm enjoying the talk, so contented and peaceful, giving myself time and space to listen to us, allowance
you.
for Jen.
Oh, appreciate that. Enjoy. I know we've been going on a little while, so we'll get through these lessons. But yeah, I hope everybody's getting some benefit from this. It's not about forcing it, and trying new things is important. You know, because people can get stuck in. It is that dangerous thing of traditions becoming a routine.
Yes.
When they become a routine, you're not got the joy. You're just doing it because we've always done it. Well, that's no different to a business saying, well, that's just the way it is around here. We've always done it like this. Well, that ain't very creative, and it's probably not the best thing to do. That's not how we're going to grow. It's not how we're going to get creative. It's not how we're going to get more excitement in our lives or our businesses. It's like, try something new. It's good. But just like we've said, you've got to give yourself time and space to be able to do that.
Right.
If we are rushing and rushing and rushing and rushing and rushing and rushing, we're not doing that. And I know it's tough. I know it's difficult, but there are ways that we can take control of our time. We haven't got time today, but there are ways that you can do that better, you know, and focus on what I call nowadays essential only mode. Really, it's for throughout the year, but especially at Christmas, essential only mode, because not everything needs to be done by Christmas. There is life after Christmas.
Yes,
You
exactly.
know, the world isn't going to end if you don't do that thing by Christmas. So
No.
focus on the stuff that's really important. That's what the Ghost of Christmas Present is going to teach us in a second. So before we get there, though, let's just get some balance and go, right, in Christmases, look at the Christmases before and do it for both the Christmases and like how I live my year.
Yeah.
Think about some stuff maybe hasn't gone so well, that hasn't served you, that didn't quite work out, that caused a bit of pain, caused a bit of stress, caused a bit of frustration. Just jot down some of those things. So first, some stuff from Christmas, and then stuff for just in general life. Maybe reflect on the past year. What's some of the stuff that just hasn't, and it's going to cause you a bit of pain? This is the flip side, you know, and we can't avoid that, and we shouldn't avoid that. We should face
That's
into
the
that and go, hey,
duality, isn't it?
it is, because we've got to learn from that. Because what we want to very often it's either so that if we're going to repeat it, we do it differently or better so that it doesn't cause us whatever the stress was, the strain, the pain, whatever it was. Or to be honest, very often it's how do I avoid it? But we have to consciously avoid stuff, right? Because a lot of this stuff is often how we're thinking or behaving, how we're just going about life and business and busyness in family life. And we just get caught up in patterns and routines and habits. And if we don't stand back and go, this is what caused that, I'm going to consciously and intentionally, like we said, intentionally avoid that. Unless we do that, we run the risk of it happening again. And it just creeps up on us and we didn't even realize. It's like learn from the past, learn from the good stuff so that we can go, let's replicate some of that. And then let's learn from the stuff that hasn't served us, that hasn't quite gone to plan for whatever reason. And we go, how can we avoid that? And I am talking about here stuff that's in our control. So if something out of our control is like, you know, and my heart goes out to anybody just like us, we've lost people at Christmas. That is tough, right? And there isn't much you can do about that. And it's just one of those things that in the moment, we've just got to deal with it. We've got to find a way through, navigate for us, for our loved ones and everybody around. You know, it's tough. And we may well honor that person, obviously, going forward in other Christmases, we, have that reminder. But that's not something that we can avoid. But what we can do is we can turn it into a positive where, like I said, we're honoring that person. We raise a toast to them. We remember them for the good and some of the crazy stuff they did at Christmas, for example, the joy they brought at Christmas. We can do that. We turn that round into something that's more positive, right? But some stuff, it might be that, we can't avoid it because it's just it's just going to happen. It's out of our control. So just think of the things that are in our control. And we went, you know what? I just worked too hard. I, I talk to parents. Some of my work is with the parents, the mums and dads, and I worked myself into the ground. I was trying to dot every I, cross every T, get everything done by Christmas, and I didn't go to my son's nativity play, and it eats me up, and I regret it, and I resent work for it, and I don't know how it happened. I can't even it's not happening again.
Yeah.
It's that this is where that depth of pain, that depth of feeling, you have to feel it. The good stuff brings the joy. Oh my God, I want to feel that again. Step into it. I want to feel that again. The not so good stuff, step into it, feel it, and you go, that is never happening on my watch ever again. And this is what I'm going to do about it. I'm going to be there. I don't care what anybody says. I don't know care what work I'm doing. I'm going to be there for my family because I know these are one-off moments. And my family's only young, for example, for a handful of years when they're at that magical age. I need to be there, right? It's being clear and intentional with that. Keep coming back to intention, right? Beautiful, lovely. So this is the ghost of Christmas past, people.
And
this is the ghost of Christmas past.
Joa said she didn't have a stable housing situation last year. And this year she's looking forward to cozying up with home comforts between social stuff this year.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. I know you've had a heck of a journey this year, Joe. That stability is priceless.
Yeah,
when we haven't got that, everything's uncertain. You got all this joy going around, and all that expectation out there, and you're dealing with a storm, and it's I've been there. I've been there, and it's not pleasant, and it eats you up. But you got to know that things will change. That this too shall pass. That you take control of what's in your control. You've worked really hard and you've looked at opportunities this year, Joe, and you've turned things around, and you're going to reap the benefit of that. That's your little mini hero's journey, just in that part of your life. And so, yeah, that's important. And some of that is like, I'm never going to be in that position again. And it's all right for us to say that because who knows what's going to happen. But it's like, if there's anything in my control that I can do differently to make sure that never happens again, and that we're just on the up, going from here on in, I'm going to do it. It's that depth of feeling. Scrooge didn't change because he just went, oh, that was nice. Yeah, that was quite good. Yeah, I suppose it was quite. Yeah, it was a bit of a wrench when she left me. Yeah, we were going to marry, but but it hit him right here because he could see the mistake he was making. He could see that there was stuff in his control he didn't do. That's the kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that we got so Scrooge-like moments, right? But there's always stuff that maybe we didn't handle it quite as well as we would have liked. Learn from it. That's all this is. So this is the ghost of Christmas past. Everybody got something?
Thank you. That was a kind validation.
You're welcome. Yeah. You're from the heart, right?
Yeah.
Total and utter truth, right? I see that journey. It's tough, and you've turned it around. You deserve all the joy this Christmas. Enjoy it however you spend it. Simple, calm, relaxed.
Yes.
In gratitude, great, right? Great.
Yes.
So, Ghost of Christmas past. What's gone well in previous Christmases? What's not gone quite so well? Let's learn from that, but also take that in terms of, like, let's look at this past year. What's gone well? What that I could replicate next year? I don't want to lose track of that. And what's the stuff that maybe hasn't gone quite so well? Maybe you didn't go for those walks in the woods. Maybe you didn't do the exercise that you really wanted to do. Maybe you didn't go. For me, I like going up to the hills. If I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by things, or things are just getting a little bit, I love going up to the hills. We've got some beautiful ones here in Gloucestershire. Just to look, not to look down on the world, not like Scrooge. He looked down on the world, but to look across the world and just remind myself of how beautiful and big it is. And it just makes all those little day-to-day niggles that we have, they almost pale into insignificance as you're just looking across the hills and the tiny houses and the people going about their business, and it just gives me a sense of calm and perspective. And if I'm honest, I haven't done enough of that this year, so that is something I will be building in more next year, right? Because I know it serves my soul.
It's good.
And so it's those things. So with that, I think there's going to be a dong on the bell of the clock, and the ghost of Christmas present's going to arrive. How exciting! Ghost of Christmas present is that holly jolly, big, oh my, abundant, full of gratitude, the joy of the moment. He is in the present, and that is beautiful. What could we possibly learn from the holly jolly ghost of Christmas present? Well, I think there's a couple of things. And funnily enough, we're going to be going, what's some of the good stuff in the present? And what's some of the stuff that maybe we'd like to improve? Let's call it that, shall we? Do a little bit differently. But for me, the ghost of Christmas present is about, first and foremost, being present. So, yes, being grateful for what we've got, being present in the moment, really seeing, really being with people, really listening. We talked about it when we're busy, when we're preoccupied, when we're trying to meet everybody else's expectations. Are we truly taking a moment? Can we be spontaneous? We talked about that. But can we really be with our children or our partner or our siblings or our mum and dad or our friends? Are we really listening to them? Are we really taking it in? Are we really treasuring that moment? Because the ghost of Christmas present shows Scrooge the people, shows the most important thing in our lives is people, not money, not the material things. The Cratchits could have a little goose, right? It might be a meager feast for Scrooge's eyes, but every moment of it, every ounce of it was loved and cherished. It wasn't about the things, it was about who you were around. And again, when you're looking at people that are just busy, trying to tick everything off the list, and they're not with the people that they want to be with in the way they want to be with them. And if there's any element of that in you, write it down. Who is it? Who do you want to be around more? Because this is what Christmas really, for me anyway, that's what Christmas is about. All the trimmings and everything is amazing, but it's the spirit of Christmas being together and having that sense of Christmas when you're together. That's the most important thing. But we can lose sight of that very easily when we're just trying to do everything. And sometimes it's not even trying to just ram everything in. Sometimes it's just like we're just trying to do the things for Christmas.
Yeah.
We're still doing them in a way that's not giving us that time and space to be with our kids or be with our family, be with our friends, and we want to build more of that time in. So we have to be intentional about it. We have to step back and just like the ghost of Christmas present did, you couldn't interact with any of that. We step back and go, right, how am I living right now? In the run up to Christmas, am I spending the time that I want to spend with my family, my friends? And even just go into it, because he's a little bit cheeky, the ghost of Christmas present, because he kind of goes a little bit into the future. So it's like, in the days coming up, what people, who do I want to be around? And just like we've just talked about, we might have to schedule some of that in. Get it in the diary. Great. If you want to hook up with a friend for an hour, great. 1 o'clock on Monday. Let's do it. Do that. Give yourself some time and space to do that. Because the people, it's about the two things. It's about the people, and it's about the gratitude and the kindness. When I saw the play, saw it performed the other week, that Ghost of Christmas present, it was all about the kindness to your fellow man, as it were, in those words. In that moment, it is about how do we reach out? How do we be with people? How do we help people? How do we serve people? That are less fortunate than us. That's a big message in the book, but also the immediate family and the people that are in our vicinity. How are we helping and supporting them, giving them the time, give it some thought. I've had Christmases where I've been too darn busy to really to take all of that in, and you're the one that regrets it afterwards. You don't want that, you know, and you don't want to start resenting things. Oh, I couldn't because I was too busy, because of work, because of this deadline, because of this project. But all of that, you can deal with it differently, you know. But really, what you're resenting is your inability in that moment to make those choices and make it happen. So, but we, unless we are deliberate about it and reflect on it and go, right, I'm going to do something about it and do something different. And I've got power to do something now that could change the quality of my Christmas right now. And as we've said, there are things for like the coming year. What are some of the things that are people related that you want to build into next year? So maybe it is, you know what? I used to meet up with my friend every other week. We haven't done that for months. I really feel disconnected from my friend, yet they're my best friend. What the hell? What am I doing? Come on, let's just get it in the diary. I'm gonna send him a message right now and make that commitment. Do that. You know, and maybe it's your mum and dad or whoever it is, whatever it is. It might be your children. Maybe you don't get you work late and you don't see them in the evenings. You don't have a meal with them in the evenings. You miss bedtime, so you can't read them a bedtime story or sing them a song. You know, they're already in bed by the time you get home. God, there's many a year like that for me, and I live with that to this day. I don't want that for other people, right? So if you know you're doing that now, the ghost of Christmas present is like, hey, hello, we need to do something about it. Look at the people around you. What time are you or aren't you spending with people? And, you know, where's that kindness? Where's that gratitude? Write it down. Write some of the stuff that lights you up, the stuff that's going well, that you want to replicate, that you
I know.
and stuff that that's not serving you.
You can't change things like that are past,
no.
But you can change them from today.
Yeah, 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 and that's no, that's why this is so powerful. It doesn't just look at life from one lens. It's going, hey, the past, we don't want to be stuck there, and it's already gone. We can't do anything about it. Man, can we learn some stuff? Right. How are you living right now? So we're not even talking about change right now. We're just observing, well, how are we living right now? What's the balance like at the moment in terms of the most important things in your life, the most important people in your life? What does that look like right now, if we're being honest? Who do we want to spend more time with? So what's going well? Actually, I got me, I'm meeting, family wise, I'm pretty good at spending some good quality time with my partner. I spend a good quality time with my children. But you know what? That friendship thing, it's really not been going so well. So what I want to do is going forward, I want to carry on the good stuff, but I want to build in some more friend stuff. Or it might be I'm working late, so I'm missing my kids, go to bed. So my commitment is, and that hurts because they're only young for a certain amount of time. That hurts. I've got to do better. And I've got to figure out and maybe get some support. How do I get better control of my time and my work so that I can get home earlier? Right? It's like you don't have to have all the answers for this stuff right now. This is just us reflecting, going, this is what needs to be better. Right? This is the ghost of Christmas present. Because and it is about being present. It takes in the messages that we've already talked about don't be so busy that you're not present. You're going to miss it.
Jo has said, she said that your presence is a present.
It is, right?
And she said, for those with elderly relatives, we need to be present to create the memories that they can be remembered by.
Yeah. The older we get, the older everybody else around us gets. Yeah. Especially when it comes to those older relatives, be it mums, dads, be it grandparents. Mm-hmm. And let's just take Christmas. And this is not me. I saw this and I thought, wow, yeah, that resident, resonates. It's like, how many Christmases do we actually get? Like, yeah, we get 365 days a year, and we might have 80, 85 years in us, some more, some less, whatever it is. But Christmases, that happens once a year. Whether you think it's a season like me, or you just think it's one day, you get one of those a year. It counts. You only get 80 of those, 80, 85, 90, maybe, in a lifetime. How many have you already had? How many have you got left? And as we grow older and our parents get older, our grandparents get older, how many have we got left? And we're not trying to be morbid here.
No.
What we're saying is, damn, I better be present, because this is a one-off, and I don't know how many this precious moment I've got. That that elicits, and I've got it, I've got goosebumps. That elicits a feeling. Remember, it's about the depth of emotion that we feel towards these things that will instigate the change and the improvement. If we don't feel, if we go, yeah, I see my family, and yeah, I haven't seen my friend for a while, but are you going to do anything
So,
about it?
you know, Martin,
You're
my
not.
all my grandparents were gone by the time I was 13. And I can remember there was just my mother's mother left. And she died just a couple of weeks before Christmas in our house. And I can remember I was off to see a friend. You know, I mean, I was young. I was still 12 then. And I was off to see a friend, and suddenly a thought came into my head that my nan was on her own in the house all the time. And because it was coming close to Christmas, and everybody was like, oh, come over, and it was all fun and Christmas stuff building up. And I remember thinking, oh, after Christmas, I'm going to make more time to go up and see my nan. I mean, I could walk there, you know, it wasn't far. And I saw her a couple of times a week anyway. But I thought I will make more time to go. And she was gone before Christmas. And I can remember thinking then that when you have a thought to go see somebody more or spend more time with them, the important thing is to take that action straight away.
Do it.
And, you know, I remember thinking that at that age. But it was a very important lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel
And I knew I couldn't
feel it.
change. I knew I couldn't change what had happened. She'd gone. So the opportunity to just surprise her out of the blue and turn up was gone.
Yeah.
But I never forgot it. I never forgot that lesson.
And you can take that lesson and apply it to other people. And as a principal, like you say, oh, need to spend more time with that person. Right, I'm not going to procrastinate on that. And I'm not wishing that, I'm not saying they're going to die in 2 weeks. What I'm saying is, now this is important, because every day that goes by, every week that goes by, every month that goes by, it's less time I'm going to spend with them. And this is important. People are important. You have to have that depth of feeling towards this. And when you really step into it, and it can be a vulnerable thing, it can be quite an emotional thing, but good, good, because that's how we get better. That's how we do things. That's how we take action on this stuff, rather than just going, well, that's a sweet old story. That's some sweet reflection I've got. But then I don't actually do anything with it. That's why I wanted to try and help people do something with this stuff today.
Joe said the intention, the intuition to be with someone is a kick in case something changes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I learned that lesson.
I know they say it, but tomorrow isn't promised for anybody.
No.
Something could change there. Something could change with us. You don't know. I mean, I got my best friend. He's forever going off places, not just for like a weekend, for months or years, or just relocates. So when he's here in Gloucestershire, I got to make the most of that time. And sometimes I beat myself up and going, man, you're not making the most of this time. You know, he's going to be off ski. You
Yeah.
know, come January, he's gone again and he's not on your doorstep. Now we can talk over the phone, we can message and Zoom and all that kind of stuff, but he's right there. We can't go for a walk, you know, like we like to, and go down to the canal and just chew the cud.
Yeah.
We can't do that. So let's make sure that we do that because we don't know what's going to change. It's of all the things that, like when we're looking at the past, the painful bits is usually to do with people
Yeah.
and what we didn't or didn't do. The joyful things are usually because we spent them with people. The present, when we're looking at what's going well, is usually because we've got the right people in our lives and we're spending time with them. And when it's not, it's like it's very often people, you know, that has the depth. Things can not be going right in the business or whatever, but generally, it's the depth of feeling is if we feel like we're neglecting a relationship or we're not seeing somebody as much, or we're not showing them that kindness that really they've given us over the years, and we're not reciprocating that. Not that it's an expectation thing, but it's just, you know what, I could be a better person here. It's like that. use that, use that feeling.
Yeah.
So hopefully everybody has got a little bit of stuff from the past that's positive that we want to bring forward, some stuff that hasn't served us that we might either want to avoid or do better going forward, you know, and then we've got the present, especially around people in our lives and the kindness, generosity, the gratitude that we have for the people in our lives, the stuff that's going well, but maybe the stuff that we might need to work on. And we've got a sense of this for this Christmas, because this is Christmas after all, and how we can make this Christmas and into the new year better, but also going forward and what next year might look like. What are just some of the simple things we might want to build in? Not a massive long list, just a couple, 2 or 3 things that we want to build in. So with that, I think there's another dong of the bells. And ooh, the ghost that Scrooge feared the most, and the one that really tipped Scrooge over the edge, and it's one that tips me over the edge, is that ghost of Christmas yet to come. And we talked about this earlier. There is power in having a positive vision to go towards. And there is power in then looking at what if things don't change. And the interesting thing is, a lot of people don't like change. I spent 20 years not liking change, which is funny because in an industry that was changing all of the time. And I was having a restructure every 6 to 18 months, and the regulator was changing. You know, every week we had something new, and so like it was constant change. The world is constant change. But there I was in this environment, and then I'm going, but I don't like change. But here's the interesting thing about this when we look at this. We go, okay, you don't like change. What if things don't change? So for Scrooge,
I
he's
got a question, you know.
oh yeah, yeah, go for it.
Right? If you're focused and envisioning how you want things to be, is it possible for things to not change?
You can, okay, okay, okay.
Sorry,
Keeping me on my toes, Jill. I like it. Okay. Here's my view, right? Here's my view.
Yeah.
So we can have a vision of what we might like our life to look like, right? And I'm not even talking about grandiose life purpose stuff, right? I'm just talking about day to day. How would we like to live our life that was maybe slightly different to what it is now? And it's not a dirty word to talk about this, right? So somebody that wants more. It doesn't mean that we're not grateful for what we have,
No.
right? We might want more health because we want to be around a little bit longer, and maybe our kids are growing up and we want to be around for their kids and all this kind of stuff, right? So, and we might have adventures that we might want to go on. We might not want to run a marathon, but we might want to do more walking up hills and mountains. Who knows? Or might want to go on some city breaks and actually be able to walk around the city, right? It might be this kind of stuff. So we might need more fitness in order to do that. Be honest about it. Be honest. And it might be something in our relationship that we might want to improve. It might be something in our business that we might want to improve. You know, well, the business is okay, but it's not bringing in quite as much income as I'd like that would allow us to have these experiences that I'd love to provide for my family, or indeed what I'd like to then contribute to the community or to good causes. This is the kind of stuff. None of that is materialistic or, a swear word for wanting more. It doesn't make us ungrateful for what we got. It's like that stuff's good. That's the juice in life. So we can have a vision for, okay, what we might want life to look like, and use what we've already talked about. This is what Scrooge did. If things carry on like in the past, and you don't learn from the past, Scrooge, if you carry on like you are in the present, Scrooge, shutting everybody out, that was the message on the people, because Scrooge just like didn't like people, didn't do anything with people. You keep doing that, here's your path, Scrooge. And part of it was what everybody thought about him, and he didn't like that. But the big thing was, damn, I could have helped giving it away, because if you haven't read or seen the story, but hopefully you have. But Tiny Tim, he realized he could have done something that would have prevented Tiny Tim from passing away. That's the bit that really got him. I have the means to help somebody else, and not just that person, but their whole family. I can do that, and I'm not, and look at the consequence. Damn. And then everyone's talking badly about him and booing him in the streets and throwing stones at his coffin, right? Like the real life inspiration. So that's the pain. He's like, oh, I don't want that. So we've got that, but we can have a vision of what we might want our life to look like. But the most important thing you've got to do is take action to make it happen. In my view, there's no guarantee that you're going to get there. Life doesn't come with that guarantee. What I can guarantee you, though, is that if you take some action towards that life that you want,
you're on the path.
Whatever that improvement is, if you just pick one thing and go, my health, I want my health to be better. If you start taking regular action, I guarantee you your health will be better in a month's time, 6 months' time, 12 months' time. I did a massive experiment this year in terms of, because of my shoulder, doing rehab and exercise every single day without fail for the entire year. New Year's Day, birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, Valentine's Day, you name it, Christmas Day. I do it. It goes from an awkward kind of thing that you're trying to squeeze in, but you set yourself up to success. Then it becomes a habit, becomes the routine. Then it just becomes your identity. It's what you do. Very, very powerful. So I guarantee you that if you take the action, even small action, you'll inch forward, inch forward, inch forward, you'll be closer. I can't guarantee you'll get there to whatever the vision is, but I guarantee you'll be closer. That, in my view, is the only way you stay still. So, but where people, and this isn't knocking any other, people call them modalities or whatever. It's like when you're doing your vision board or you're doing manifestation, right? That's often people misinterpret what that means. They go, right, so I'm going to manifest this amazing life. I'm going to be super healthy. I've got this amazing relationship, and I've got this balance, and I'm living with purpose, and I've got this incredible business where I'm making a difference in people's lives, and I'm contributing to the community. And oh yeah, brilliant, great. You've got that clarity, and then they sit there, and they're waiting for it to happen, and it doesn't happen.
It's like,
and then they get frustrated and they go, it doesn't work.
It's like saying, I want this from the shop, and then not going to the shop.
Not going to the shop. And that's a brilliant analogy. It's brilliant. And it sounds, we can kind of giggle about that. But so many people are doing that. They've got the one part of the jigsaw puzzle. They're going, I've got some clarity about where I want to go, but they're not doing anything on a regular basis to actually get there. And then they wonder why they're not there. And it's frustrating. But I tell you what, it's not just about the vision. You have to have got honest. It's like my 7 steps to improve your life frameworks. When you get into all of this, you then suddenly start looking at patterns and you create your own frameworks. It's amazing, right? So I discovered that you need to get honest first and foremost about where you're at. Scrooge got honest about the present. He had to get honest about the present. And he had to get honest about the impact of his past. Then he had to get clear on where he wanted to go. But that alone still isn't enough. He had to feel the depth of passion to make it happen. And for Scrooge, it was that pain. But we've said there needs to be a balance. So let's feel some pain. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to experience that again. But man, I want to experience more of that. Or I wonder what that would feel like. That would feel amazing. So we have this balance where we're doing that. You've got to have a sense of passion to make it happen. And really importantly, you have to have the right people in your life to make it happen. Scrooge, and it's coming to the grand finale of the book, but Scrooge doesn't make all of this happen by himself. He makes the choice straight away. That he makes that decision because of what he's experienced. But the reason he then sustains that, or is going to be able to sustain that, is because of the people around that he's now invited into his life, that he's now entered into their life. And by being in their life, keep him on track, keep him doing that thing, fuels him up. So it's about that people. So you've got to get honest, you've got to get clear, you've got to get passionate, you've got to have the right people. That's the Christmas Carol. But that's the first 4 steps of my 7 steps to improve your life. And I hadn't even connected those dots when I did that. But it's like, this is what happens. This is how you do it. Sustainable change. But it's no good just having a vision. It's no good just having a vision. It's no good just getting honest. And it's no good just having some passion. You've got to bring it all together to go and make it happen. We said about it earlier. In a couple of weeks, people are going to make New Year's resolutions. Some people are. Most of them are going to go by the wayside within 2 weeks because they haven't done that. They've just gone, I want. And they're going to expect it to happen and fit it into a busy schedule, but they've not gone through the process. Oh. If they want it to stick, get the process and get somebody by your side to help you, guide you, keep you on track. Simple as that. But the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come has got these 2 paths, really. I mean, he only shows one path to Scrooge. That's the nature of the book. What if things don't change? What if you carry on like this? What's going to happen to your health? What's going to happen to your relationships? What's going to happen to your business? And the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come takes him right to the end of his life. And he looks back on his life. And this always reminds me, and I've said this before here and many places, I've said about one of my favorite motivational talks is by Tom Bilyeu, A Life Worth Remembering. And in that, he says he'd heard a couple of definitions of heaven and hell. He said, getting to the end of your life, and the definition of hell being, you meet the person that you could have been. I cannot think of anything worse. Getting to the end of your life, looking back and going, it was all in my control. I let the outside world dictate what I was thinking. I let other people's views of what I should and shouldn't have done dictate what I did. And I didn't take the opportunities. I didn't connect with the people. I didn't build my business like I wanted to. I didn't make the difference that I wanted to. I didn't connect with the people in my life like I wanted to. And I missed out on the juice in life. I didn't travel like I wanted to. And at the time where you can't do anything about it. And again, from somebody who's on their 7th chance of life, I promise you do not want to be taking your last few breaths, looking back going, damn, I could have done better. You haven't got any more time. And if you want a depth of feeling, I'm welling up. If you want a depth of feeling, take yourself there, because that will tell you the kind of life that you want to live that maybe you're holding back on a little bit. And right now is when you've got time to do something about that. Don't wait. Do something with it now, being intentional again with it now. But that's the lesson. Tom Bilyeu said that the definition of hell being meeting the person you could have been, the definition of heaven being you meet yourself, right? So you've done all you can. You lived with purpose and passion, and we cocked up, we made mistakes. It was a roller coaster. It didn't all pan out. But you know what? We gave it our best shot, and we know that. We didn't hold back because of something else, and we gave other people our all. We were there for people. We were there for ourselves. We took space and time for ourselves when it was needed. And we appreciated this world. We appreciated what we had.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I don't know. If that doesn't get you, if you can't step into that and that doesn't move you in some way, you might be made of stone. You might want to check. Right? But that's the power of the ghosts of yet to come. That's, and I've said this before, that haunts me and motivates me in equal measure. Because and there's so much more I want to do, Jill. There's so much more impact I want to make. And I haven't got all this figured out. I don't come from a space where I'm saying, hey, I got all this figured out. I just know some stuff. I've been through some stuff and I know where I'm heading. I'm not willing to get honest about what's not working out right now. Where I'm
so
quite,
exciting, though, Martin.
oh, it's so exciting because I know that there's so much more that can be done. Some people are going to look at what I do and go, Martin, dude, enough already. You're doing all right. And I'm like, no, but it's not from I'm not satisfied. I'm not grateful. I've got more to give. And I want to give it. That I want more experience. And not just for me, for my family. My boys are growing up. There's stuff I still want to do with my boys. There are places I want to take my boys. There are places I want to take my wife. And in order for that to happen, I got to step up the mark a little bit. And I got to make that happen. That's on me, nobody else. I'm not going to stand here pointing fingers going, it's their fault and their fault and their fault. I got to step up with that. This is the power of this kind of visualization, this visit from the ghost of yet to come, and going, I don't want that. If things carry on and I don't do some stuff, this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen. I can't afford for that to not happen. I want this for me, for them. I want to be able to make an even bigger difference in the world. I know I can do it. I haven't got all the answers. I know I can do it. I don't know how for some of this stuff, but I'll figure it out. And I'll figure it out with the right people around me to help me and support me and guide me. And when I'm having a bit of a day, they'll lift me up and they'll say, it's okay, Martin. And they'll sit with me while I wallow, like I do sometimes, because I can be a grumpy old man at times. But that's okay, because I got the right people around me, and they'll lift up and I'll come out of that funk and I'll be on form and then I'll be flying. But then there'll be another dip. It's okay, because I'm heading in the right direction. I'm not just sat here going, I wish my life was like that, or I want my life to be like that, but I'm not doing anything about it. I'll do everything I can, and that's the depth of passion you need from the ghost of Christmas yet to come. It's what look at it. Just look at your life. Bring it together and go, on one side, what are the key things that you want to include in your life going forward? What are the important things that are going to light you up, that are going to be your anchors in your life? Use what you've already been putting in the past and the present, but what are those things you want to include in your life? How do you want to live? How do you want to experience life? And then on the other side, what's the stuff? If you carried on and you didn't take advantage of the opportunities, if you didn't learn from all the things that you've got now, what could your life look like? How much shorter? How much less passion would there be? How many missed opportunities will there be? How many people are going to pass away and you didn't spend enough time with them? I can't live with that. Jill, I got goosebumps and I'm crying. I can't live with that feeling. That is regret. That is misery. That is looking back at a life not well lived. This is not just a story. This is not just some bedtime children's book, right? This is a guide to life. Feel it. Yeah. And I truly hope that you can see the value of this, because the end of it, once Scrooge has been visited by all the spirits, he makes that declaration, and he's like, I'm as light as a feather, I'm as merry as a schoolboy,
Yeah.
I'm as happy as an angel, right? I don't know if you're going to have that moment, right? I hope you do have that moment.
Oh,
But
I do.
but what he's made the decision. My life is going to be different. I've got a chance to still make it different, because he was worried that, well, why are you showing me that I'm going to be dead and everybody's like miserable and I live this terrible. Why are you showing me that if I can't change it? It's the realization at that point. Oh, I'm back in my own bed. I can change it. I've got today. I'm going to change some stuff. I've learned, and we've written some stuff down today, I hope. And if you haven't, go write some stuff down. You've got a plan. You've got some stuff that you can start building, start doing some things differently, spend some time with some more people, get some stuff planned in for this Christmas and next year. Give yourself some space and time this Christmas to be spontaneous and also some of that planned stuff. But next year, you're going to need to give yourself some space and time as well. Maybe just learn from that. How do you create that day to day? Because Scrooge brings all of this together and go, here's how I'm going to live my life. And maybe that is what you just need to do. Go, everything I've learned, what are my key 3 principles that I'm going to live my life by? You know, if this isn't bringing me joy, if this isn't bringing me closer to people, if this isn't making a difference, maybe I got to challenge what the heck I'm doing, right? Just as an example, right?
Yes.
Maybe hold yourself to some key principles. But another, you may well have quite a lot of things that you've written down already. So another thing that I do to help is go, right, I don't want a big long list of stuff. Like we said, if you've got 57 things to do, you're not going to do them, right? And you're going to hold yourself, and when you might knock 40 things off those lists, but because you're not doing the other 17, you're going to beat yourself up. That's not what we're talking about. So maybe just look at what you've written and put them into categories, put them into buckets, and go, there's some health stuff here. I'm just like, maybe. There's some health stuff here. I'm going to just put all the health stuff in there. There's some relationship stuff. Right. Right. Here's all the relationship stuff. Here's the business stuff, right? Most of us are business owners here. So here's the business and the professional stuff, the purpose stuff, the mission stuff, right? Many of us don't think we've got jobs. It's our mission, it's our purpose, right? And that's a very different feeling to having a job or a career, right? But maybe this is the business stuff. And just look at it and just categorize these things and go, right, here's the bits that I can leverage. So when I'm talking about my health, here's the things that I want to include. Here's the things I want to avoid. Good. I got a benchmark. And I'm not going to hold myself to that every single day and beat myself up if I don't do it. I just know now I've got far better clarity on what I'm trying to do. And then when it comes to the relationships, right, definitely need a date night with my wife every other week or every month, whatever it is, right? Or I need to get home so I can spend time with my kids before they go to bed. And maybe to begin with, that's once a week, 3 times a week. But it builds, and maybe then it's every day, right? So look at these things, and it might be business, and it's like, well, I need to reach out a bit more. I need to do a bit more on social media, or I need to build that email list, or I need to just get clear about what it is that I'm actually offering out there. Whatever it is, you're going to know intuitively, right? You might not have the answers as to how, and that's okay, because the next part is, and who can help you? Right. So underneath these blocks, these categories you've got, go, right, who could I reach out to that could help me? And it might be me. I'd love to. It might be Jill. If there's some relationship stuff going on, you might want to speak to Jenny, right?
Yeah.
Find somebody who can help. So sometimes it's one person that can really oversee and help you in a lot of areas. And sometimes it's very specific. If you need like a personal trainer, I know you had your personal training in quite a lot of me, Jill. I remember all these squats and all sorts of stuff. But that the personal trainer really helped you, right, for a specific thing. So that's the right person to go to, right? And a relationship coach if you've got the relationship things, or a business coach if you need business, or if you just want to bring all of this together and go, I just want to live a better quality of life, which is made up of all these things, but I really don't know how to start. I really don't know how to keep on track with this stuff. Then you probably speak to somebody like me and Jill. The people are really important. So have your categories. You've got your what you can leverage now. You've got the stuff that's going well that you want more of. You've got the stuff and you can build on, right? And you've got the stuff that maybe you want to avoid or you want to do differently. Great, brilliant. You've got them in some simple categories, 3, 4 categories that our brain goes, that's not overwhelming. I can do that. And then you've got some people, one person or several, whatever it is, that can you go, I can help. And what I would say is if you've done that, if you've got to this point and you've done it, send them a message right now, right? Or put it in the comment. If it's me or Jill, come have a conversation with you, right? Put it in the comment or message us, message the person now. Because after this, you're going to go and get busy.
Yeah.
For Christmas and business and everything else that's on your list. And I know this has been a long one. So massively appreciate your time. I guarantee you are very busy and you're going to be doing stuff now. If you don't reach out, the chat, like with every waking second after this that happens, the chances of you reaching out and making this happen go down. And that's not just me being dramatic, it's just facts.
Yeah.
So if you've got somebody now, you go, actually, you know what, Martin, you're right. I'm going to reach out to this person because they can help me with this thing that I want to avoid and I want to make more of. Brilliant. I'm going to reach out. And if it's your best friend, I'm going to go and spend more time with my best friend. We're going to go for a walk every week or every other week or once a month. Message them right now.
Yeah.
Tell them. Ask them.
Absolutely.
Right? Do it now.
Yeah.
So that you take action. And I think that does lead to that harks back to what we talked about, 9 hours ago. When it's about that intention and not leaving the sight of an intuition, an insight, something that we're feeling. Don't leave that moment without doing something about that, doing something with that. Because that when you were in that state, when we're in that emotion, then we've got all the motivation and the inspiration and the clarity and the honesty and the passion to go and do it. But with the best will in the world, this stuff fades. So take the moment now. And it's also really important in terms of having that support going forward.
Yeah.
Because those people that give you support will be able to help you maintain that passion, that purpose, that inspiration, that energy. Because we do dip, something comes sideways and we go, and we get knocked off the rails. We try and do that stuff by ourselves. We stay off the rails for a long time. But if we've got somebody by our side, they're able to go, hey, I get it. We got knocked there. That's fine. How are we going to look at this? How can we get back on track? And they'll help you. They'll guide you. They'll support you. They'll encourage you. They'll remind you just how good you are. They'll remind you of the passion and the purpose and the lessons that you wanted to learn from. They'll remind you of the vision that you've got about where you want to go. They'll remind you of if we don't put our socks up and make this happen, look what might happen. They're the one that can remind you of that. And then you get that boost and go, right, okay, right? They then act as the combination of, Marley goes to Christmas past, goes to Christmas present, and goes to Christmas yet to come. They are that guide then that can bring all of that together. So that, my friend Jill, this wonderful, wonderful community, this is a Christmas carol. And as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone.
Oh, Martin, thank you.
Welcome.
This has been wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful exploration
from the heart.
Present, future. And being present.
Being present. I know it's cliche when people say
it's so important.
It's true. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Sometimes at Christmas it isn't, it's not about the present. Again, cliche, not about the presents. No. Presents are lovely, but your presence is the most important thing. And if you've got children, your presence, not some exhausted shell of a parent because you've driven yourself into the ground because of work, for example.
Yeah.
They can have a great time anyway, but you're the one that's going to have to live with it. Yeah. Knowing. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself, let alone your family. Right? So we have been on quite the journey. It's turned into a movie. And in fact, this is probably longer than most of the interpretations of the movie. In fact, you could have probably have read the book in the time that we've been talking. But hopefully we have brought this to life. Hopefully it's been valuable. You've got insight from it and some stuff that you can actually now go and use, really importantly, to, yes, go and have an amazing Christmas. I wish everybody an incredible Christmas, whatever you do, however you celebrate or don't celebrate, whether you think it's a season or it's just one day, whether the Christmas tree is down by Boxing Day or whatever it is, right? Ours is going to be up in January. But however you spend that, and however you want 2000 and, well, the next year, let's keep this timeless. However you want next year to be, I'm wishing you all the health, the happiness, the connection that you want.
Let it be that, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And tune in with this. Right? This process, this journey that we've just been on. In 3 months' time, you might want to do it again. Because as Jill said earlier, we move. We do some stuff, we experience some stuff, we're in a different place.
Yeah.
And you might not think you're in much of a different space, but just being a 1% difference in how you're looking at the world or looking at yourself or looking at how you're living day to day can make a massive, massive difference. So relook at this and go, right, okay, well, what can I learn from the last month or 3 months? What can I learn? What went well? What didn't? What can I learn from that? How am I living? Well, this is much better. This is much better. Cool, I'm making some good progress here. This little niggly thing here. I really need to do that. And it might be a niggly thing that you'd already picked up before, or because you've moved on slightly, it might be a new niggly thing. Because that's what happens when we level up. We get new niggly things. We go, oh, that's something to be aware of. And then just look at your future vision. What do you want to avoid? What do you want? Where do you actually want to go? Maybe they've changed slightly. Maybe there's something even more at stake now that you go, okay, well, we can't afford for this to happen. Or maybe you've just got a little bit more clarity about, actually, this is I want to include this in my future because I can see that's possible now. I didn't actually see it was possible before. I do now. So this is something, like I said right at the start, this isn't a guide just for Christmas. This is something we can use, this process, this framework, if you like, we can use at any time to just assess things and move forward with a depth of passion that is actually going to help us go forward with the right people.
Expand our life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Martin. This has been so wonderful and right at Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yeah, indeed. It is a God bless us, everyone, but it's also Merry Christmas, everybody. Yeah. And again, thank you for your time, whether you're live, whether you're doing this on the replay. Yeah. And if you are doing it on the replay, I hope you chunked it up into a Netflix series. So we appreciate your time.
We do.
And always, it's not just a talking shop. It's been very valuable to just look at this, give you some new perspective, and go forward. Have a great Christmas. Have a great New Year, and know that the likes of Jill and I are right here to help you if you ever need any support or you need to talk something through, because it's what we do.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody who joined us live and everybody who watches on the replay. And I'm going to stop the live video now. So she says, hopefully. Thank you, Martin.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody.